Here is how Monette Zamora capitalizes on the hundreds of thousands of followers that she has to build a successful online fitness business. She has one clear outcome of helping women build confidence and transform their bodies through strength training and Pilates. The goal of this funnel is to build trust, showcase results, and move visitors towards booking or joining her coaching program. She has a huge social media following, so the goal is to capitalize on this and make sure that the traffic that moves from this into her funnel is converted to the highest degree possible. Now, the first point to note, this page is hosted on her website. So if she was to drive traffic to this, it would make more sense to create this as a standalone funnel page. So there's not lots of different links along the top and the possibility for leads to move off onto a different page and not go to the outcome that we want. There's a difference between a funnel that has one clear goal and a website that has numerous different outcomes, essentially like your digital footprint. She has a hero banner along the top, which says strength training meets Pilates. Here's what's good, here's what could potentially be improved. There's a clear value proposition of essentially combining two popular niches, strength and Pilates. Pilates is a little bit more niche, so potentially stands out to more people who haven't necessarily done it before. The application process is a sort of quiz style process, which is quite gamified and quite interactive. However, what I would suggest is potentially adding some supporting subheadings to essentially explain what makes this program unique and the clear outcome from this program. The majority of traffic will come from mobile, especially with the fact that her following is so large across social media platforms. So considering adding some social proof above the fold would go a long way. Essentially above the fold, meaning before a lead has to scroll down the landing page. We could also go one step further and have a photo or a video of Monette, essentially a VSL, selling the outcome that is achieved from working with her that she has helped thousands of different women achieve. She then moves on to having a banner of social proof which reinforces the outcome of working with her. The videos are raw and relatable rather than highly edited, so it creates even more trust. It humanizes the brand and it's essentially storytelling from the client's perspective. We could go one step further and below these testimonials, we could add a summary of what the outcome is. Chances are leads won't watch the whole thing, so adding a summary below, for example, lost 10 pounds in 4 weeks. I've finally become consistent with training. I've achieved this outcome. We want to create tangible outcomes that we can summarize below the videos. A lot of the time as well, people won't always play the videos, so we can set them to auto play, but have them muted with captions. We then move on to even more social proof as well. We have visual proof and there's different outcomes. Not everyone's achieving the same outcome. We could go one step further though and add what they achieved below. And then we could add a clear call to action. Here, instead of us having to go up to the top to submit this, we could add a call to action, a button that then would take us to that certain row, or even have a pop-up with this form embedded on. We then back it up with even more social proof, giving more credibility, and we could again go one step further and having call to action buttons sporadically throughout, so then when a lead wants to take action, it's easier for them rather than having to scroll around and find the application section. We then have a banner here that creates even more credibility. Pilates princesses made so far, 2,350 plus Pilates princesses. Instead of just saying women, she gives them a certain name, which is nice, it's niche, and it's specific to her. And it also gives a huge amount of credibility that 2,350 people have worked with her. We want this higher up. We want people to see this as soon as they land on the page, rather than having to scroll. This statistic could also work incredibly well at the bottom of a call to action button in a subtext. Have the main text on the button such as start today, apply now, and then some subheading of the number of people that we have worked with. We then have a summary of Monette, which could work incredibly well having a little bit higher up to build even more trust. And we could maybe go one step further and putting this information into a VSL that we can have higher up the page, and we can have captions on this and get that video to autoplay. We then go into an overview of what is included in her app, which gives us an understanding of what would be included if we join the program. One thing that could potentially be improved here is there's a lot of features, so we could also sell the benefit that each feature gives us. Then there's a section of experiencing her app, and yes, we want to keep everything on brand, but we could go one step further, and the call to action buttons could be an ugly color, a color that essentially stands out, or we could have a little bit of animation on that button so it stands out, draws people attention, and they're not having to try and figure out where the application button is. Then we have a little bit of a preview as to everything that's included, and one thing that we could again go one step further with is also making it clear as to what most students achieve within the first month of working with her. Then this screenshot here could be a little bit of a snippet of the first video that's included. This will then help leads really visualize everything that's included when they work with her. This section is really good and it makes the next steps really clear. 4 simple steps as to what the lead needs to do to take action. This removes uncertainty and creates a clear path for the lead to follow. We could then add even more urgency to create even more intent with the leads that land on this page. For example, start today and join this week's challenge. Then at the bottom, we move into an FAQ section where the leads' questions are answered before they leave the page. One thing that works incredibly well is also having a little WhatsApp widget in the corner that leads can click and message direct. Instead of them leaving the page, they can have a conversation with a human. That of course can also have an AI setter on, so it doesn't even need a staff member to sit there and answer questions all the time. That could also link direct to Instagram to start a DM conversation if that's the main area where messages are being answered. One step that we've seen work really well with FAQs is you could put in bold, essentially highlighting the 2 most important questions in that list. The footer works really well on a website. However, if we were running this as a funnel, we'd want to get rid of this because there's lots of different steps that someone could take to essentially leave the page. We want one clear outcome of them essentially applying to work with her rather than leaving the page and essentially going and doing something else on her site. However, on a website, this makes sense. We could go one step further as well and add some logos, for example, as seen in, with the different brands that she's been working with. Those steps will help Monette improve her funnel and get even more conversions from the leads that land on it.